I changed my mind. I'm not going to give you a break. If you are online, you are welcome to stay. I figured you guys are used to making it an hour. So, but if you do need to go to the bathroom, please feel free to go. Okay. So thank you for bearing with me. But what I would like to do is this morning, I would like to get, if you did attend the meeting or watched it on video or just are interested, I am interested in getting your feedback from what you thought of the meeting that we had with Reverend Bross. You can go. Yeah. No, it's okay. Oh, tell Ben and Anita congratulations. If you had feedback or any thoughts on the meeting from with Reverend Bross, I am going to, for the people that are online, I am going to use the mic. If you have something to say, please raise your hand and I'm going to give you the mic so that they can hear what your feedback is. So what did people think? What's your feedback? Huh? Oh, there's Ben and Anita, or Josh. Hi, whoops, I'm waving. Ah. How cute. Magic of technology. So anybody would like to share any thoughts about what happened in the meeting? By the way, and so just to set the bar here, there's no decisions being made today, not asking you to decide anything. I really am just trying to get your thoughts and your feedback and what you thought of the meeting. And it was a load of bull. It was really important. What do you guys think? Oh, Chris.
And I thought it was definitely worth exploring further. But I also thought it would be a good thing to have Calvary be part of the process. I know they talked about differences between Villa Park and Elmhurst, but I think that we have a lot in common with Calvary. And we both embrace you, so I think that's a sign of our value.
Sorry, Chris is too far away for me to give the mic to, but Chris's feedback was that he thought the meeting was good. It was worth that what the meeting's proposing is worth exploring. He also thought that it would be good for Calvary to participate in it, given that you share me and that we have both churches seem to have the same values and the same culture. Other thoughts on the meeting?
I have one question.
Yes.
What was the meeting about? Are you guys merging?
Okay. Well, we'll just.
In a nutshell.
Yeah, we'll start there. So the question that prompted the meeting is that at least two churches, the two Elmhurst churches, so Elmhurst First and this church, are both facing challenges. Now we're facing challenges in different ways. Our challenge here is people. Right. I mean, basically, almost everybody here is in a leadership position. Everybody here, present company accepted, is in a leadership position here. Okay, and we don't have a bench. We have, I mean, if somebody here quits, dies, or whatever, we don't have anybody to take care of some of these more important positions. Okay, so my statement to this congregation was, we're not in trouble right now. But if you wait to have this conversation until we're in trouble, we're going to be in panic mode. Right. Okay, so we're having that conversation. I'll come to your question. Meanwhile, at Elmhurst First is asking a different question. Their building expenses are starting to become a larger and larger portion of their budget. They're healthier people-wise than us, but they're also asking the question of, are we just here to support the building, or are there ways for us to do more effective ministry in Elmhurst? Okay. Now, given that both churches are wondering this, there's a question of putting everything on the table, not only just a merging of people, but a question of merging of resources, a question of whether either building is in a good format for ministry. Okay, if you look at this building, if you look at Calvary, if you look at Elmhurst, this is typical 1950, 1960 church architecture. There's a sanctuary and there are program rooms. You built an education room, you built another education room, right? Or you built an education wing, okay? Those education wings, those education rooms are largely empty. Okay, how do you have soup kitchens? How do you have game night for seniors? How do you have an after-school program? How do you really form a space that's really multifunctional, that really could support a lot of different ministries? How do you come up with programs that would grow disciples, help members grow in their love of God and serve their community? Okay, so when we say everything's on the table, there's kind of a two-question thing there. Number one, we simply, and all of, I hope that this congregation knows that I say this out of love, okay, is that I love this congregation. You guys are my first appointment. This has been a wonderful community, okay? But when it comes to when we have conversations about how do we do ministry in Elmhurst, how do we have those services and those ministries, we simply don't have the people to do that, okay? So if we were part of a larger merger, right, it would give everybody here an opportunity for more discipleship, more Bible studies, more book studies, more activities. It would also give everybody here more opportunities to serve, to be part of a community. The simple truth is that we don't have enough people here to really do that. I can ask you guys, and I have, right? And everybody's kind of like, I don't want to be the only one, or I did that 50 years ago and I don't want to do it again, that kind of thing. So that's what's sort of on the table. And so I will say this, the question that is in front of the congregation is not right now, the question is not, do you want to merge? That's not the question on the table right now. Okay. The question on the table, after I get these feedback sessions done, is, do you want to participate in a process that helps you decide whether you want to merge?
Exactly.
Okay, so that's the question.
So this church is, I mean, it's basically the membership, but this church is a membership people shortage, whereas another church, it might be a finance shortage.
Right.
So if you guys do decide that, yeah, we're going to pool resources, you just have to decide, is that the best thing for this church? But just speaking
Yes.
of mergers,
Right.
like when SAG-AFTRA merged, it was horrible for SAG.
Yes.
Because we were picking up the slack for AFTRA, who had no money.
Right.
So you don't want to do a merger in that sense to where it's going to harm you and where you're being, asked for aid. You want it to be the most beneficial thing for this congregation.
So, okay, so this isn't feedback. I'll give you my feedback. Yes. So this, if you ask me what my thoughts on are, I mean, I love the building. I know that all of you have had your, if you haven't been married here, most of you had your kids baptized here, or you went through confirmation here, or on and on and on and on. And I know the building has been an important part of your lives, right? But at the end of the day, I'm going to tell you that the people sitting here and the people online, that community that you've journeyed with, that you've cried with and laughed with and celebrated with, that community is far more important. And yes, the building's important, but you can't sacrifice that community for the building. That's how I see it, right? So if we all ride this building, this is, okay, so again, the question's in front of you. This is just my thought. I don't want to necessarily influence your thought, right? But if we keep asking the same people to do things here, same volunteers, same people taking care of the building, same people taking care of me, same people taking care of the finances, eventually those people will burn out or die out. The next people, okay, I'm just gonna, so I guess I would sum it up this way. Is this church life-giving to you? All of you, only you can answer that. Is this church life-giving to you? Is your participation in here, do you feel closer to God when you participate in the activities? Do you feel like you're growing in your journey of discipleship? Do you feel like you have opportunities to serve? Or is this place right now more of an obligation? Every Sunday morning, this is what I've done for 50 years. This is what I've done every Sunday morning, and I don't know what to do. I don't know what else to do. Is this life-giving? Because church is supposed to be life-giving. Church is supposed to make it so that if I come to you, and I've challenged, at church meetings, I've challenged this congregation. I've said, can you articulate, if your neighbor comes to you and says, I've been thinking about this God thing. Can you tell me how your belief in Jesus Christ has made your life better? Okay? That's what I'm going to ask you. How has your belief in Jesus Christ made your life better? If you can't answer that question quickly, okay, not with like 30 days of work, if you can't answer that question for me right now, okay, you got up this morning for nothing. I don't know why you're here. This is supposed to be something this is our faith, our belief in God. God makes it so that we can. If we're not doing that, if this is just an obligation, then then we're landlords. So that's my question: is
Do you
it's
need
sort of a challenge. Yes, I will apologize for this. I will apologize in the sense that I recognize that
out of me, I guess.
pastors have come and gone to this church
You're clear throat.
without challenging you on, are you accomplishing the mission of God? And this is the curse you've got with a second career pastor who is very mission and project focused. In my mind, an organization doesn't need to exist unless it is achieving the purposes it was formed to do. Christ gave this group of people a mission to be God's representative in Elmhurst. To the degree that we're doing that, good, and to the degree we're not doing it, we should do better. That's my take on it. Okay, so here's my challenge. How do I keep this community together? How do I not burn out the leadership? How do I not make this a drudgery? How do I give the people here, because I love you, how do I give everybody the opportunity to grow in Christ? Okay, I can only hold so many Bible studies. I can hold only so many events, and I depend on participation, and I depend on lay people to help. The truth of the matter, and we're all Methodist here, the truth of the matter is that the health, the vitality of this congregation depends much more on all of you than it does me, because I go, I leave, I get reappointed. Okay, if you want a good community, if you want a meaningful community, you guys have to form it. You guys have to sustain it, and it will be easier to do that if you have more. Okay, so I'm worried about you. Okay, yep.
Yeah, I was listening
Blame God.
the meeting was good.
Uh-huh.
I thought the solution of moving forward to go through the process of looking at combining with other churches, whatever that looks like,
Mhm.
and how that process is doing, I think it's a good thing. I think that I think the thought of working with community and sharing that, spreading that, we haven't, and I think that would be more fulfilling and just be more involved in the community and with more people and whatever building, whether we use theirs, ours, or new one at that point. But I do think the process of moving forward with the communities in Little Park and Elmhurst is a good thing.
Okay, all right. By the way, part of the answer to your question is, if we could, in pastor land, is what if we sold this building? What if we sold first? And what if we took the asset we have from that property sale, and we took that and we put all that money together? What could we build in terms of a new building, in terms of a new church, in terms of something that was really an open ministry space for the community? What could we do if we had those resources, as opposed to right now we're kind of all locked into our building, right? That's one of the other things, because again, if you take and you are welcome to come to our finance meetings or anything like that, but if you look at our finances, a greater and greater and greater portion of our finances is going to maintaining the building,
Right.
paying the utilities. And is that really good stewardship? Is that what God called us to do with the money the money in the building we're blessed with? Is that what God wants? That's another question. Trying to discern, trying to figure out, what is God calling to us in this time and in this place? That's the question too, right? So
Yeah, I think that's so far away though.
it is kind of far away.
Just like, hey,
Right.
are we gonna Are we gonna look at the process?
Right. So that's really the question.
Process and it doesn't work, then it doesn't work, but if we can
Right.
look at the process and see how it's developing.
Right.
And it works, then that.
Right.
Years of it.
Right. So from a process standpoint, I'm asking both of my churches to whether they want to participate in this, whether they want to explore the possibility of the merge. I'm not asking for the merge today, right? Or tomorrow, right? I'm asking if you're open to the experiment. That's really kind of it, right? And then each church, at some point in that process, then each church will be asked, do you want to now take the next step and talk about a merger? And if each church can say, yes, we've liked what we heard, we're excited about the possibility, or they can be like, we want to crawl back to our building and we want to die there. I'm like, okay. Right? That's my perspective of it, right? Each church could say, no, we're not going to be part of it, but we have no other alternative. That's my problem here, right? There's no other alternative, right? Organically, unless you all start inviting a lot more people, okay? I've been here 6 years. I'm not gonna, okay, so I hopefully, again, all of you know me. I will tell you the truth as I see it, okay? I can count on one hand how many visitors you all have invited here in the past 6 years since I've been here, okay? That's the truth, okay? The truth of the matter is we've had more visitors online that are my friends than you guys have invited. Church isn't going to make it organically unless you guys change. I don't care what, I don't care, are you merging or change here? But we're not on a good trajectory here.
Right, something has to be done.
Absolutely something has to be done. Well, or you die, or you accept it. And I'm okay with that too. If you all get together, come to me, talk about it amongst yourselves, and come, Pastor Jim, we love what you said, but you know what? No. We're going to ride this ship to the end. We'd like you to turn the lights off when the last of us dies. Okay. I'll tell the conference. I'll let them know, hey, they're not interested in doing anything. They just want to stay the way they are. Okay. That will mean certain things in terms of who you're going to get appointed next. Okay. If this is really, if this is really a dead end church, you're going to get a pastor that's probably not the best pastor in the stable. Right. You're going to get somebody who's going to maintain, who's going to keep things going for you.
Right, you at the start of your ministry, you might get a minister that's at the end of their ministry.
Yeah, you might get it right. You might get a retired pastor.
I also think that they're pastors. They're not gonna get somebody off the street and say, oh,
No, right.
They're still gonna get somebody who's gonna worship God.
Right. It's really more a question. Part of the problem that SPRC faces, right, is that this church is struggling with pastoral compensation, okay?
Yes.
And so one of the things that Reverend Bross said during the meeting, because somebody did bring it up, because everybody wants to keep their pastor, right, is Reverend Bross said, no, he goes, if you were to merge, I would, okay, so I don't know if it was a promise or a statement. This is what he said. He said that I would keep the existing pastors there for continuity, at least for a portion of the time, okay? And he said, if you weren't spending money on 2 buildings, right, 2 congregations, meaning 2 buildings, you might have the resources now to compensate your pastors where they need to be. And then you would be a place where you could attract the kind of talent, the kind of pastoral talent you needed. And you're right, you are going to get a pastor here. The bishop and the cabinet in the Methodist system, you have to have a pastor appointed here, okay? It's just a quality, it's a quality thing, right? If this church goes to the DS and says, well, we can afford to pay the pastor $15,000 a year, no parsonage, okay, you're going to get a certain kind of pastor, right? As opposed to if you say, hey, we want to pay our pastor $125,000, you might get a better pastor. Okay, that's the truth. I'm not going to lie about it. Okay?
But he's still a pastor.
Yes, it's still a pastor. You will still be cared for. You will still have somebody to preach. You're still going to do funerals, baptism. Yes. Yep. Absolutely.
I don't think it's a matter of a quality of the pastor. I think it's a pastor like you and Pastor Joe seem to be very passionate about exploring this new opportunity, whereas possibly we would get a pastor that was, like you said, maintaining.
Mhm.
So I do like Pastor Joe. I do think you guys would make a great team as far as changing things. I love the idea of exploring the possibilities, and I guess I'll just have to live with the fact that I get emotionally attached to places.
Absolutely.
And so I am very emotionally
Absolutely.
attached to this place.
Yes.
But I don't want that to let me stop from forming new relationships and doing things we did in the community in the past or new things. So I would say that if all, because at first I was like, what do you mean we have to make a decision on whether we're merging or not? But you just answered my question and got me at ease saying, yes, I'm open to exploring.
Okay. Okay. And thank you for owning the fact that there is an emotional attachment to the building. There absolutely is. 100%
I've been here
is.
since I was in 6th grade.
Right.
That's
Absolutely.
long.
Right. Marilyn?
My question is maybe this sounds a little negative, but is the Methodist Church declining in Elmhurst? We have a lot of competition, if you want to call it. We have the Dutch Reformed Church, which has 2 churches in South Elmhurst.
Catholic.
Yes. Big Catholic presence. Right.
But we have the Presbyterian churches, 2 Presbyterian churches, and we have United Church of Christ, which all seem to be.
Can't swing a dead cat in Elmhurst. Yeah. Right. Yeah. What?
We are in competition.
Right. So let me just add unless you want to.
Yes, I want to say that I can think of the ministry of, what was that when we did meals? Grace Cafe.
Grace Cafe.
Okay, I would say they're not necessarily competition, but we could also have ministries with other churches here.
Sure.
Like that.
Right.
We're all trying to do the same thing.
Right. So I love your question because your question is the puzzle of the year for every pastor. Okay. At Calvary, the 9:30 a.m. church that meets is called New Life. It's a non-denominational church. Okay. If you come there, young people, if you watch their Facebook, like every month, 2, 3, 4 adults being baptized. Right.
Where is this?
This is New Life in the basement of Calvary. Okay, they meet in the morning at the same time. Yeah, it's called.
Non-denominational.
Yeah. Okay, they are growing. Okay, so it's right. It's fascinating, right? So the biggest puzzle to a pastor is why are they growing and we aren't? That's the biggest puzzle
It's the
for me.
marketing.
No, it's well. Okay, so to be clear, that's a style thing. Right? Before, we would never, we're not well versed in marketing, okay? Now, people don't like to say that. People are like, well, that's too worldly, okay? But how you get known, how you attract people, that is marketing, okay? And if you're not good at it, you're not good at it. Right? But there's something more important, I think. So I've been watching this church. What's more important is that they are much more committed. They're much more conscious about, number one, the missional church. We are a church on a mission. This is why we exist. Every one of their members believes that statement. Okay? They believe that they are here to multiply. They believe they're here to share the good news of Jesus Christ and bring people to that church to experience the same thing and to help grow. They are committed to that. They're committed to the welcome. They're committed to being part of the community. They're committed to making a difference. Okay? Now, I'm not saying that all of you are not. Okay? But what I'm saying is that their church equips them to do that actively. that they are going out and going to their neighbors or going to their friends, even if they're UCC, even if they're Catholic, okay, because I got news for you. There are people that are going to the Catholic church, the UCC church, the whatever church out here in Elmhurst that are sitting in that pew right now going, I have other things I could be doing today. I guarantee you there are people in the pew sitting there, bored out of their skull, and are going to say the same thing to the question, is your church life-giving? And they're like, no. I come here because it's an obligation, because I've always come here, okay? Whereas if they had an opportunity to really participate in a loving community shaped by God and the Holy Spirit, they would come. So to some degree, yes, your comment about competition is correct, but to Deb's point, I would ask you to take a step higher and say, what are we doing for the kingdom of God? Independent of what comes before the word church in our name, United Methodist, United Church of Christ, I would ask you, and this would be part of it, if we're going to merge and we don't change our attitude, all we're doing is prolonging the inevitable. If I put 20 more butts into these seats, all that means is we get to stay alive another 10 years. That's all that means. If we don't fundamentally start changing the way we think, the way we approach things, the way we work on how we are working for the kingdom of God, if we don't change that attitude, it doesn't matter. I mean, this is one of the reasons that we're talking with First and not with Calvary, okay? Again, it's just my opinion, but in my mind, merging two struggling churches just gives you one struggling church. Okay? I'm not interested in doing that. I'm not interested in spending my time or your time giving you another inch on the ledge. I'm interested in finding opportunities for you all to be the church, to be in active ministry. And we don't need to merge two struggling churches to do that. That's not going to work. Okay? We need a future.
But I also think that it should be less Calvary, it should be some church.
That's okay.
I don't think that we should even say that it's just First and this, because when you looked in that room and when we were at that meeting, you couldn't tell Calvary was there.
No,
First
right.
was there,
Absolutely.
And the dissertation between 83, you couldn't tell.
Right.
Everybody's sitting
That's
at
right.
the same table.
Yeah.
So I think that we are the same. Yes, there are smaller houses on the other side of the street, but
Right.
I just think that, and they started this first a couple years ago, weren't they the ones that wanted to merge, and then they were like told that it's,
They were about to die.
right.
Yeah.
So
kind of like
so
this.
I feel like we're almost pushing them to, okay, well, now we're going to go with this big one first. And then we're
Okay.
gonna add
Now I would tell. Okay.
I feel like
No.
we
Okay.
should not be separate.
Okay. So the right.
That's just what I think.
Just to say this, the dynamic there is a little bit different. So just for everybody's awareness, one of the things that they are questioning, whether it makes sense to go east to Elmhurst or to go west to Lombard, okay? Now, this is the argument for them that I have to make to them that they should come this way, okay? The argument is that Elmhurst First and me, and hopefully you, are ready to engage in this effort. We want to do new ministry. We want to find a life-giving way to do this, okay? Lombard First is a healthy church. It's got a lot of people. It's got a good pastor there, but they're not quite ready for the I want to do something new conversation. He's a new pastor. He's only been appointed a year yet, and he hasn't got the relationship with his congregation yet that he can have this conversation. Okay. On top of that, their church has an affinity for churches farther west, Glen Ellen, those churches. Okay. So Villa Park is in this really sort of weird spot where they're in the middle of people that are moving away from them, right? And the fact that they share me is a big plus, right? So I agree with you, but they have to come to that.
Oh, yes,
risk.
it's their
Right.
decision, but I would not want us to
leave them
keep
out.
talking
Right.
this way and say, oh, first, oh,
No,
yeah,
no.
and then it's,
Right.
oh, we're talking with, for Calvary, you can come.
No, I agree with that, right? And I'm,
Yes, if they
right.
make that decision to go elsewhere, then.
Right,
that's
I agree with that.
willing, That's what their decision is.
yeah, I agree. Yes, I agree with that. And just for full disclosure, because if somebody asks me this, Faith Evangelical, the third United Methodist Church in Elmhurst, is disaffiliating.
Yeah.
Yes, they're disaffiliating, so we will vote. So disaffiliating means, okay, boy, this is right. You and I could have like a couple coffees together. Disaffiliation is, there is a provision in our church right now for the next year that if you disagree with the United Methodists' position on human sexuality, that there is a mechanism for you to leave the denomination with your property, okay?
Okay.
And then you can either become an independent church, or you can join another denomination. Global Methodist, okay, is a conservative aspect. Faith Evangelical was an old EUB church, very conservative, and they made the decision that they're going to leave the United Methodist Church. So
they want to discriminate, so they're leaving.
yeah, okay, okay, that's fine. Okay, I wasn't going to quite say it that way, but okay, fine. Okay, fine.
I was just going to say
Okay,
it.
so they are not, okay, so if that was going to be a question, there is no opportunity to do anything with them. Okay, all right.
Well, no, because they're not all inclusive. They're not all inclusive.
That's
so
right.
that I don't think that's God's way.
I don't disagree.
I don't have to agree with it,
Mm-hmm.
so we can all agree to disagree. But I don't think you should base your decision on excluding people on those types of things. I just don't.
Good. I'm glad you think that way. Good.
So if you don't want to go with God's plan, then yeah, you can just go with it.
Right. Okay. So they're off the table. So Calvary, Elmhurst First. And I think that those three, okay, so again, personal opinion, nothing to do with your decision. I agree that those three together would be a good fit, okay? I think it's probably the best opportunity for Calvary. It's probably the best opportunity for Christ. But I also want to be careful that we don't extend that argument too far. So like, why don't you make it 4 churches? Why don't you make it 5 churches? Why don't you make it 6 churches? The more people you put into this effort, the risk starts going up, right? Of people.
I think we're wanting
Right.
to stop at 3.
Well, and it's only 3 because we're already involved with them.
That's right.
You know,
Right.
it's not
Right.
like
To be
we're
truthful, right.
And
That's right.
geographically,
Yeah.
I mean,
But I mean, to be right, but truthfully, there is an awareness that if you didn't share me as a pastor, you wouldn't know Calvary from Adam, right? But you know them because of me.
Right,
Right.
we started that.
Right, yeah, I agree.
So it's just a combining of resources and people.
Right.
And then making sure that it's the best decision for everyone involved.
Right. Yep, that's right. And then there is work to be done on getting to know our community better. Okay, so we have some tools available to us. You heard it at the meeting. We have available to us a tool called Mission Insight that allows us to view the demographics of our towns. Yeah, and so, so some of the, like one of the things, I looked at the report for Villa Park. I mean, Villa Park's average age is expected to skyrocket in the next 10 years. I mean, just the whole population is just simply getting older because there are people that they're getting older and they don't move away. I mean, the joke is people in Villa Park, born there, die there, right? Elmhurst is a little bit more transient, right? But over there, right? So then the question is there a ministry opportunity for, addressing the needs of older people in Villa Park, right? Question here would be, what are our demographics saying? Is Elmhurst getting older, younger, whiter, browner, right? More kids, less kids, right? All of those questions go into how do we reorient our ministries, right? That's also going to have to be part of the conversation because otherwise we could merge all 3 churches. And again, if we're still doing the same thing,
Right.
nothing's going to happen there, right? So it's 2 questions. There's a people merger question, and then there is a DNA, attitude, missional question that's also there. And so I don't know if that answered your question, Marilyn, but I think my personal feeling, without being able to actually definitively support it, is that there is a perception out there that the church doesn't do anything, right? That to answer the question that you probably heard during natural church development, if this church disappeared today, would anybody in the community notice? Okay, the answer in this church is no. Okay, so when we talk about competition, when we talk about drawing new people in, okay, I'm not looking to join an organization that isn't effective, that doesn't do something, right? For me, okay, and I'm just gonna say for me, okay? I've lived in the Chicagoland since '91. I'm not looking to meet new people. I'm not looking to meet new people. I already have my friends, I have my community, okay? Not really looking to meet new people, okay? I'm not really looking for more ways to spend my time, okay? I've already got a ton of things that I have to do with my time. I'm not looking for something else, okay? If I was looking for an experience with God, if I was looking for my spirituality, I would be happy to join an organization that did that, but don't make me come and waste my time. Don't make me come here every Sunday, listen to this guy babble, and then go home and have it make no difference in my life. I have other things to do. And so if we can come up with a church that is life-giving, that's built into your life, that it does serve the community, that it makes a difference, that if you answered the question, if this church disappeared tomorrow, would the community notice? And everybody says, yes, please do not disappear, you'd have people come. I think you'd have people come. Question is, how do we build that? But no, if you look at mainstream mainstream Protestant churches, UCC, UMC, Lutheran, Presbyterian, right? We're all past 20 years, all headed down.
But like you said, the New Beginnings Church, which
New
is
Life.
really New Life, which is flourishing. And we had here, one of the aldermen began a church at York Theater, which is now housed in the Old Baptist Church at St. Charles in York.
Okay.
And that's huge church. I mean, so these new churches are seem to be drawing the people in.
They're non-denominational.
I agree.
Right.
Right. So are you asking me why? Or are you asking?
Yeah, kind of
Yeah.
like in relation to our church
Yeah.
going down, but you say the other churches, but still, they seem to be, I mean, I rode by the Faith Christian Reform on Prospect, had a big sign out there for this weekend with all kinds of things going on. I mean, they're big draws to.
Right, right. So so two responses to that. Number one, this goes to you need a certain number of people to make this effective, okay? Yeah, I'd love to have a Mother's Day event here this Sunday, okay? Who's volunteering to organize that, right? Because, so here's the answer cannot be, and I know that you have history that leads you this way. The answer cannot be the pastor will do it. That can't be the answer, okay? I would love to have a Mother's Day celebration. I would love to have inserts and flyers inserted in a 1 mile radius of this church or a half-mile radius of this church, door hangers, mailings. Hey, we're having a Mother's Day brunch this Sunday. Please come to our church. You're welcome here. Da 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 da. Okay. I'm not cooking. I'm not walking through the neighborhood. Okay. I'm looking at the people who would do it. So, right? And so this isn't a blame. I'm not blaming, right? But all of you, when I've had these discussions with you in groups or privately, some of you have shared. And I completely understand this. I'm going to be this way too. You know, Pastor Jim, I was really active in this church 30 years ago, 20 years ago. I taught Sunday school. I was on finance. I was on SPRC. I was on the mission team. I was on all these things. And you know what, Pastor Jim? I'm tired right now. I'm older and I'm tired. That's a fair statement, okay? But you all have, even if you're older than me, okay, you still have wisdom. You still have wisdom to share with a ministry effort because you've done these things, because you've shared, because you've dealt with people, because you can share these things with people that are going to be the hands and feet, right? And so there's always a way to contribute, I think, to the kingdom of God, no matter your age and no matter your things. But, okay, we're full of wisdom here. but we're not full of hands and feet here. We need some more hands and feet. That's kind of, right?
Don't you also think, oh, sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, when you get on a committee at this church, you kind of know you are on it.
It's a death sentence. It's a death sentence, right? I've told you.
I also think that the new life and new churches coming up, it's also personal, it's kind of like the digital camera thing. You know, there's been so many negative things with Catholic churches and all that kind of stuff on news and everything else.
Oh, yeah.
Now, maybe, I don't know if they're building as their congregation or their memberships are as building as they were in the past, because, you know, new things. I think a little bit comes around with the more bigger Methodist Catholic, the more bigger business end of it, and so these new life, are
Right.
just socially.
Oh,
I think that's a big deal.
okay, so that's an absolute truism, okay? Is that if I told all of you, next Sunday, I want each of you to bring a visitor, which I could, each of you to bring a visitor, okay? If you had a church that you were excited about, that gave you life, that had opportunities, that had little kids running around, that had young adult group and an older adult group and a senior group and had activities and stuff, right? Wouldn't you feel more comfortable about inviting your friend to come and worship with you and be here? Then, and okay, I'm not, again, I love all of you, I'm just gonna, right? If you invite your friend here, okay, the way we are right now, okay, would you feel proud about that? Would that excite you? Would you be able to tell your friend, you have to come to, right? So I think that there's a certain level of.
I'd be proud of it, yeah.
Okay.
Because the thing that we have that's so strong that you feel when you walk in is, Patty, I love Patty, what's happening with your kids, what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
Margaret, how are you feeling, what's going on?
Okay.
I think my sisters still talk about that.
Okay.
And they go to, so it's a different kind of things that we have to offer.
Okay.
Yes, to maintain that person sitting in that chair would be a little hard.
Okay, and I will a little bit disagree with you, okay? The way I will disagree with you is that you guys are such a close community, okay? That when you get together, there's no way to break into the conversation. You guys are talking, I mean, and, right? You guys are talking about things that you all know. Right? You're talking about, okay, so I'm a visitor. I come in. Hey, what do you think about this carpet color? I don't care. I'm just visiting. What goes on in your church? Well, we worship. Right. You worship. What else do you do?
Right, we worship, that's.
Right. Okay. So, but if I came to you and said, right, but if you came to your friend and said, oh, you know what? I know you're having a hard time with your divorce. We have a divorce support group, right? Or we have a spirited child support group, or we have a cancer survivor support group, or, okay, but I mean, again, and it's me too, I get it, but when I bring you in here, right, and you only offer worship, how do I distinguish myself from the UCC Church of the Presbyterian Church, right? Right.
And I do think that.
That's what I mean by pride. I mean, in terms of, I know you could get your friend to come. I'm worried about the second visit, third visit, right? I mean, yes, we could all drag somebody off the street, yes. But in terms of building a vibrant community, right? I need the third, fourth, fifth time, right? That's my thing.
It's basically a rebuild, because
It is a rebuild.
back in the day when, this church was really thriving when everyone was younger, and there was the church, the Christmas bazaar that was held every year, and there was all these different programs and the luncheon and this and this, but
Yes.
then when you have the membership kind of, like you're minus people, and you're minus people, and you're minus people. Now with the current membership, how are we supposed to put on those programs that were done 20 years ago when we had so many more people?
Right.
Like you said, there just is not enough people to do that.
Right. And that is the key. I think that's very perceptive. That is the key, is that I don't think that there's so far, except one, so far in my conversations between the two churches, I haven't run up against anybody that's like, absolutely not, we have to stay the way we are, okay? But there is recognition that we don't have the resources as an individual church to organically do this, right? We could have it. I could start these meetings up and say, okay, we're going to completely revamp the attitude and the way we do church here. And again, I love all of you, but this is more of what I called at the meeting an adaptive journey. Okay, this is something that none of us know what's going to happen in the future, right? This is more of an environment now where, okay, all I need is 2 people. You have a good idea, okay? You have another person who's willing to help you. Here's some money, go try it. If that ministry starts taking off, we're going to start investing in it, okay? If it fails, we learn something. That's such a different attitude than the way church has been done before, okay? That's a permissive giving attitude. That's a, yes, go experiment, right? Marilyn Dork comes to me and says, you know what? When we were at the ladies' lunch, I noticed that there are a lot of people at the American Legion, a lot of veterans that seem to be very lonely and sitting at the bar. Okay, Marilyn, get somebody else and let's go over there and let's start talking. Right? Right? And no, right? But this is right. But this is a significantly new way to do ministry. This is meeting people where they are, because we love them and we care about them. This isn't saying, oh, I'm really sorry that you're lonely. I'm really sorry that you have PTSD. If you want to come to my church on Sunday, I'll minister to you. That's different than saying, I'll go to you, okay? It's possible that you would start a mini congregation there. You know, hey, let's do some Bible study. We'll just do a Bible study. The 4 of us at the American Legion over lunch. Maybe 2 more people would join. Whatever. And you would actually be doing ministry there. Okay? I'm all about that. Okay? I don't know how much especially now, you have younger kids, I have youngish kids, right? Sunday morning is not sacred. Right? Sunday morning is not sacred. Maybe you're going to make the argument it should be. Okay? But Sunday morning is not sacred. Okay? I could go to 100 families with young kids and say, why don't you come to worship with me on Sunday? And they will give me a list of why they cannot. Sports is number 1, right? Too tired, blah, 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 blah. Sunday is not sacred. The truth of the matter is that in the 50s and 60s, society was on our side. Okay? Society pushed people to church. If you moved into a new neighborhood, you would walk up to your new neighbor, hey, I go to the United Methodist Church on the corner. Would you want to come with me on Sunday? And that person would probably say yes. Okay? Now, you go up to somebody and say, would you like to go to the United Methodist Church? They're like, no. Or why? Okay? Society's changed. Okay? To the degree that we have to work on being relevant again. We have allowed ourselves to become irrelevant, right? Again, nobody would miss us, right? This whole thing could close down today. And the biggest, I think that the biggest change that would happen if we shut this church down is the school would put a bid in for this building, because they should buy this building like right away if we vacate it, frankly. Okay?
So you're literally saying, go out and make you different.
Yes, but I don't want, right, but I don't want to do that. So, but I think that we have to do that in ways that are comfortable, or at least non-threatening, and that's an adjustment for all of us, right? But I mean, but we have lost that. I think that we've lost that over the.
I don't think we don't have the ideas, we don't have the people.
Right.
We're willing to do it, but
Yes,
So
and
it boils back down to
yes, right.
I don't have an idea.
Right, and you know, Karen, and that also strikes me as being really relevant too, because you guys pay me to go to webinars and seminars. You guys pay me to go to these classes to learn how to do church differently, right? But you guys don't go, right? And so when I keep asking you, and by the way, Sharon yelled at me because I kept asking you, and I finally told Sharon, I said, Sharon's my wife, and Sharon was like, I think you're annoying them. Right.
Again, you're asking the same people.
Right.
It's different phases in everybody's life, but if you had out of a congregation of 50 or 100, and you had one person do it one time, one person do it, they would just come back and talk about it. It would be shared.
Right.
But it's the same.
But also asking people over and over again who only know how to do church this way, you don't, so, okay, so again, this is another culture shift. I've got to provide you the opportunities to become educated, to see different ways to do church, to hear different ideas, to start working on that God working in you and saying, you know what, I just heard about this new ministry and I think that this could really work in Elmhurst. All right, let's sit down and talk about it, right? But until I can work on exposing you, or whoever the pastor is, work on exposing the congregation to those new ideas, right? So this is another thing from my perspective. As you're changing the culture, I also have to kind of change your priorities. Like, this has to move up in your priority list a little bit, okay? I'm not gonna lie. It can't be only Sunday morning from 9:30 to 10:30. This is going to have to be something that you're actually sort of interested in, right? You don't have to become, a Christian nerd, but ministry has to start being something that you're interested in, right? How do I make my church better?
Well, we're already all in leadership positions, and so we spend more time
Right. We're
doing stuff for the church.
right.
And then it boils
Meetings
down
and
to
all
the
that.
number of people available, and then,
Right.
and then if you have
So
more
we're already
people.
committed to trying to figure this out.
Right.
Already.
Right. And again, a lot of our activities, understandably, a lot of our activities go to maintaining the building, sustaining what we have, right? And again, if you had, and this is the secret from back then. If I had 300 people and 20 people are sustaining the building, which would be a lot of people, but 20 people sustaining the building, I've still got 220 people thinking about ministry, thinking about how do I get myself involved in the community, right? Right now, I'm okay asking all of you to help me sustain the building, but how much more am I going to ask you?
Well, I think that's another part of the congregation. Deb loves gardening and she's doing that, so she likes it. So she's gonna be doing that and ask her to. I'm an interior designer, so I do the building. You know what I mean?
Right.
So you're, if I was good at, you know what I mean? And obviously we wanna participate. So it's again, the limiting of the people.
Right. It goes with your gift. No, see, that's an excellent point, right? We believe that everybody is blessed by the Holy Spirit for spiritual gifts that are used to build up the kingdom, right? Again, I don't want to overstress the 300 number, right? We're not going for the numbers, right? But again, let's go to 50, right? 50 people, I've got 50 spiritual gifts, right? So some are going to have spiritual gift of administration. They're going to be able to take care of the building, right? But there's going to be some there that have the spiritual gift of hospitality. Some are going to have the spiritual gift of helping. Some are going to have the spiritual gift of proclamation or of teaching, right? And so now the teachers, I get, hey, you'd like to run a Bible study, and be like, yes, that's life-giving for me. I love running Bible studies, okay? Come on down, right? Oh, Pastor Jim, I love, worrying about food insecurity. I would love to get a group together that, knock your socks off, right? But that's what I've learned over the 6 years of journeying with you, is that there is, as much as, okay, so there's both these statements are true. We can have a good congregation with 5 people, with 2 people. Okay, we can have a good congregation that's loving and caring, but that congregation isn't going to go too far outside. It's going to be right.
There's no community outreach.
Yeah, there's a certain critical mass of people you need if you are going to be more missional, if you are going to participate in the world, if you're going to attract people to Christ, if you're going to help people in need. There's a certain number, unless you're only doing it financially. Okay. And that's what this church is elected to do. This church has said, we want to make a difference in our community. We will give money. And that's ministry by proxy, and that's fine. And if there's no alternative, but there's nothing for your own development, there's nothing like being hands-on in ministry and seeing the people you're helping.
I think we're already, since we made these different sacrifices and we sold the property, that we are rebuilding, but it's literal. Like, you look around and we're fixing up this place to look great, because the the last thing you want is for people to go, oh my gosh, look at that sign, look at that property, look at the weeds, like,
Sure,
what are they thinking about what's going on in here? If it looks
right. And
You want it to be,
Yes.
have curb appeal if you
yes,
invite it.
and right.
That's one
And
of the first things Pastor Jim said, I'll never forget, it was his first year here. And he's like, so I don't mean to hurt anyone's feelings, but like your grass and weeds and people come here
Right.
and it's not very appealing.
Right.
And it's just funny because 2 weeks ago I was walking the neighborhood and I was like, wow, we've got that down. I mean, our
Yeah.
building, our
Looks great.
grass,
Yeah.
landscaping.
The new sign.
Yeah.
right.
Looks incredible.
Right. I think, and when I drive by here,
One goal.
yeah, the church looks beautiful, and I'm thankful to all. I mean, there are many people here that worked on that. I'm thankful for that, right? But also, right. But also, let's call it what it is, right? A new sign, a new carpet, and grass is not going to get people to come in here,
Right.
right? I mean, we're good neighbors, and we're not embarrassed by the property, right? But the truth of the matter is that that's not going to get anybody in this. Nobody's going to come here. Nobody's going to join. Nobody's going to start a new ministry because we've got good grass,
Right.
right?
Yeah, but like that was kind of like just the start of like,
Yeah.
hey, now we got people to sign stuff broken
No, right. So
and you're not like, oh,
right.
trip over the floor.
Yeah, no, right. Oh, absolutely. No, so,
The whole back.
right. So at the very minimum, Karen, I think we had to do that stuff because we are stewards of the property that God gave us, right? We're called to take care of it, right? But I also, at the same token, I would still stand by my statement that by itself doesn't necessarily bring people in. Right.
So
Yes,
if you want
right.
to do other things,
Sure.
And we'll talk first and then come here.
So now
Yeah.
the property's in good shape and now it's inviting. Now the next step is to really get community, do a lot of community outreach.
Right.
So
Right.
if you do community outreach and you're seen in the community, and then people are like, where do you worship? Oh, we worship here. Just like when back in the day when they were doing the church bazaars and
That's our
Yeah.
all that kind of
biggest
stuff.
problem.
It was written in the Elmhurst Press, oh, Christ
Yeah.
Church, da-da-da-da. So then that just draws people in,
Right.
but right now we're kind of like.
We're
not in the
inward.
Community in silence.
We're
And everyone
inward
knows
focused.
We're still functioning here.
Right,
So
right.
we have to get more out in the
Yeah.
community.
And
But they didn't come to join the church.
they did not, right. And that's also something that I think is a shift in the past 30 years, right? Is there was a thought that if we shared the building, right, so with the Boy Scouts or whatever, that they would join, right? That is not anymore, okay? I was a Boy Scout, I was a Scoutmaster for 3 years. It never crossed my mind that I should join that church. I have a church. It never crossed my mind to join that church. I was thankful they were there.
That was a thought I was going to bring up.
Yeah.
Any of something on the screen, no.
I mean, it is, I think that attitude made more sense when society was on our side, right? That you could be a Boy Scout troop and you'd be like, wow, this is a really good church. They have all these things going on and they have this, and this. Maybe we should change churches or maybe we should come here. Now, people aren't looking for a church, so it never occurs to them that they should come here, right? They're just using your building. That's all they're doing. They're only using your building. That's the truth, you know? So again, I mean, I hate to say it because it is a little bit of a selfish attitude, but the attitude in America is, what's in it for me? Okay? That's what happens, right? So if I'm gonna, no, thanks, yeah, we probably should have done that, right? If I'm gonna invest my time, my money, my energy, my emotions, my spiritual growth to this community, what do I get out of it? Right? And then we get them to the, okay, it's not only about you, right? Then you get to preach at them. It's not only about you, it's about how you give to other people. It's how you grow. Right?
Yeah.
But to get people in, okay, you've heard the term church shopping, right? Or people are church shopping. We've had a couple people church shop, okay? That statement in of itself is, it's all about me. I'm looking for the right Sunday school for my kid. I'm looking for the right support group for me. I'm looking for a community for me, right? That church shopping has no commitment to the community. It's shopping. It's transactional. If you serve my needs, I will come to your church. When you stop serving my needs, I will go find another one. There's no commitment to the community. And where you want to get people to is you want them to commit to the community. I don't want you to commit to the building. I want you to commit to the community, right? That's a headwind. That's a societal headwind that came about in my generation in the 80s. It was all about us. I hate to say it, but the 80s made it all about us, you know. But yes, I think in the spectrum of things you are, right. We're seeing God move in this progression. We're taking care of our building, we're taking care of our property, and now the question in front of us is, are we taking care of our missions and our ministry, right? What do we do? This church, everybody is jealous of this church. Joe Johnson is jealous of this church. Calvary is jealous of this church. Why? Because this church,
We're cool, man.
yeah, this church has no stairs.
Yeah.
Best
Stairs.
Best decision ever.
No stairs. Every other church has to have a lift or an elevator. When the conference looked at Calvary, Accessibility's ministry came over to Calvary and looked at putting an elevator in, 1.2 million.
Right.
We were like, nope, it's just going to be inaccessible. So, no, that was it. It's just, you know what? I'm sorry, you can't get to the basement. That's it. We're not putting $1.2 million into this building. It's bad. This is an awesome building, right? And so if you didn't sell this building, right, but you wanted to worship somewhere else, this building is set up so well to be a community center. So well to be a community center. I mean, the fact that you have hardwood floors on here, the fact that we did Grace Cafe here means that you can serve food here. Okay? Whereas I go to any other church that has carpeting or the basement, right? And if I guarantee you go to a church with carpeting in the sanctuary and you say, how about we serve food there? And you will see 20 people freak out. Oh, like, okay, sorry. Okay, this church has so many good assets about it. If you wanted to do something else with it, absolutely, you know? So again, but these are all that sort of, I'm not saying we're selling the building. I'm not saying we're merging. I'm not saying anything. What I'm interested in is the congregation open to the journey, the adventure? And I don't know where the adventure is going. I don't know where the trip's going to lead us. I just know that leaning into God and trying to discern God's will is better than sitting here dying. That's my take on it.
So let's go on an adventure.
Right. So that's any other feedback? Anybody else get a chance?
So we've always struggled with change. I think we're getting better. I think it is normal.
Yes,
We're getting a
absolutely.
little better.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
Right. And we do have to talk, right, and that's the key. The more you talk about it, that's true of anything, right? The more you talk about change, it's easier to process. The more you talk about God, the easier it is to talk about God.
I mean, our kids, how many times do we hear our kids tell us, like just dealing with my daughter getting married. Mom, we do things different.
Yeah.
That's what we've got to come to grips with.
Right.
The world is a much different place.
I mean, Sharon and I raised 4 children, okay? Well, yeah. We raised 4 children. None of those 4 will go to church. None of them. I mean, some of them are like, I'll go if you want me to, but I don't really believe what you believe, all the way up to, I will never go to church because of what you stand for. Okay, so when you preach that you love everybody and care about everybody, your church doesn't back that up. My kids are like, well, I'm never going to your church. Okay. God gave you free choice. I'm not going to take it away, but.
So we're talking about denominations. I've had some friends, the Methodist Church is in the news. People are aware that we're, they're at least aware of that.
Right.
So we have to use that to our
Right, and that's why our sign says all are welcome here.
Right. Yeah, but you're right. We're not getting great press. We're not getting great press. We're getting press so that right. So any press is good press, but right. But,
churches had to deal with.
Yeah. Okay. So right. So that's really sort of the question that I will pose to you probably in the next couple of weeks is, as a congregation, are you open to exploring this? I'm not asking if you're merged, but are you open to exploring this, to forming, you know,
Forming an alliance.
forming an alliance, yeah, right. To being, right, to working with First and Calvary if they come along, right? To working with them, to saying, yes, we're going to start some joint activities. We're going to start getting to know each other. We're going to start worshiping over there or worshiping over here and start doing those things. And I get it. This might not be the favorite thing. It might not be comfortable. It might be a little stretch, right? But essentially not making up your mind that you hate it until later, right? On deferring decision, right? That's really kind of like reserving judgment, like not deciding now that you hate it.
Right, just like when you're trying to feed a little kid a new vegetable, and they go, I don't like that. Well, how do you know you don't like it unless you try it?
Right.
So.
Put in the zucchini bread first.
Yeah, there you go. See, if you all were right. I mean, if you all remember it, I would right. If you all remember it, one of the books I read on this equates it to dating. Dating is you're starting that process of dating, and you're just, what is this church like? What is their culture like? What are their people like? And giving that a chance, right, to get to them to know you to know them. And then from that point, you can make a decision. Yeah, I'm comfortable with this group. I'm comfortable going forward with this group. Or like if we tried it with Faith Evangelical, or like, this is a horrible idea, right? You need to back us out of it. Right, yeah, okay.
Like you do a meet and greet and have a social
Right.
gathering or some kind of thing. Or,
Exactly.
you know,
right.
after a Sunday service.
Right, or we go over to First and worship there, and their sanctuary is air conditioned. I'm all for that, but
Oh, my God.
you know,
Oh, Calvary is indeed, right?
Calvary. When I walk in there at 8 in the morning, when I'm dropping my stuff off that sanctuary in the summer is already usually at 85. Yeah, no, it's brutal there. It's brutal. No, right, and I'm going to talk to Joe Johnson about, if we decided, and that is why, that's part of the reason I'm pushing you guys to make this decision now instead of sitting on it for 6 months, is that the summer is coming. Reverend Johnson is going on a renewal leave, which means that he gets 6 weeks off. We're all entitled to it. Yeah, we're all entitled to it. After 4 years of ministry, each 4 years of ministry, we're entitled to a renewal leave. But it's kind of funny. Like, you're entitled to it, but you have to arrange it. So
Right, yeah,
right.
there's all these
But-
stipulations.
But he's going on renewal leave for 4 weeks he's going to be gone for 5 weeks or 6 weeks. Anyway, he's going to be gone right. So there's also an opportunity to go over there and worship with them and get to know them better, which works out for us because it'll be air conditioned and,
What are they doing for pastor during this time?
Well, so he's got to arrange that, right? So one of the things I can go to him and say is like, hey, let me take a couple of those weeks. Let me take a couple of those Sundays. I'll bring Christ. We'll worship over there. We'll do a potluck and we'll get to know each other a little bit.
Air conditioning.
Yeah, right? Yeah. But it's a good opportunity, right?
Explore the options.
Right.
And, after you explore the options and see if it's beneficial.
Right. Yep.
Another way of getting to know people is having an activity that we might start in children.
Right.
And group everybody together.
Right. Right.
So things could be available, say, every 2 or 3 months.
Right.
You get to know people a lot better
Yes.
there than sitting on one.
Absolutely. Right.
With your group and.
Right. This
is on the other side.
Yeah. This is the thing you tell your kids when they start dating. Like, a movie's a bad first date.
Oh, right.
Right? Movie's a bad first date, right? So if you could pair it up, like a Feed My Starving Children and like a meet and greet or a little social thing afterwards. But the pastors I think have to provide leadership for some of this, is like, okay, what I'm asking you to do is not only talk to the people of your church, right? I'm asking you to talk, so like for this potluck, I want you to talk to 2 other people from the other church.
You're not allowed to sit with anybody you know.
Right, right. But some of the, because what happens naturally, so like somebody just said, well, when we went to the meeting with Reverend Bross, you couldn't tell the churches. I could. That's Christ, that's Calvary. I don't know you, so you must be from First. Right, I mean, right? Yeah.
I meant more the white.
Oh, right, demographically.
We're
Well,
all dressed the same,
yeah,
we're all about the same
right.
age.
Right,
That's
right.
what I meant.
Yeah, no, but I think that that, you know, Reverend, if we engage in this, Reverend Joe and I have to be more intentional about giving you opportunities to get to know other people, because, I mean, humans don't like change. I'd rather sit with the people I know than the people I don't, right? I hate going to clergy meetings. Okay, yeah, I'll shut it down. I don't know if there's anybody there. Yeah, just go ahead, leave it. I think we're almost done. I think we're kind of done here anyway, right? Does anybody have anything else? Okay, thank you, goodbye, happy Mother's Day.